Welcome to Gentle Anchor, a podcast hosted by mom and son, Michele and Noah. No topic too tender. We talk with honesty, curiosity, and zero taboo.
What's up, Drift Mates? Welcome back to another episode of Gentle Anchor Podcast. I'm Michele.
And I'm Noah.
And we are so glad that you could join us today. We are going to be talking about networking. Noah just went to a conference for his field with some of his students, and we got to talking about networking.
My friends, not my students.
I'm sorry, you're right. And we got to talking about networking and how important it is and kind of the do's and don'ts and all those things. So we thought we would talk about that because if you're in a professional field, it's kind of an important thing, whether you do it in person or you do it through emailing. There's different ways to do it, but we thought we would just talk about how to do it, how important it is, what it looks like, anything fun we want to say about it. So that's today's topic. Anyway, we are going to get into that drift check. Wait. There you go. I'll put the music right there. How are you, Noah?
Muy bien.
Yeah.
Very good. Yes.
Yeah.
I am ecstatic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Living the dream.
Yeah. It doesn't always have to be, what is it? Flowers and something and roses. Anyway, it's good. You're good.
Yes.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm fine. I got nothing. I'm excited. Next week is our spring break, so that'll be fun.
Late.
Yeah. I'm not doing anything. Last year I had a nice spring break. Tabby and I went down to Mesquite, and she did a little sunning. We did a little gambling, but I am not doing that this year. So I'm a little sad about that, but because she doesn't get spring break. She's in one of her rotations for her master's program, so she doesn't get to go. So we will not be doing that this year, but I'm excited for spring break nonetheless. So that'll be fun. Other than that,
A week away from your students.
my students don't bother me. They're pretty nice. I like them, but it's nice to have a break, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's the drift check. We just glided right through that one. That was lovely. So let's get into this. So networking, let's start with how you define networking. We've talked about it a lot through your education because we knew that it was going to become something that you were going to have to do as you got older. I think anybody in the professional world really kind of has to do some sort of networking. And so I think that I did a pretty okay job of preparing you and Tabby for that. One of the great ways to do it is through like conferences and things like that. But when you think of networking, what do you think of?
I don't know. I've done a lot of it. So for me, there's kind of the things I've learned about it, things that I've learned what to do and how to do it. And just kind of what it is, I guess. And so there's kind of two versions. Like it's what I thought it was to now what I think it actually means, I guess.
Yeah.
So what I thought it was just kind of getting your name out there and like introducing yourself and kind of just meeting people. This is kind of what I thought it was.
And I would imagine that a lot of people think that that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's just like this blanket kind of, here's my name, this is who I am, this is kind of what I do, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah.
And I'm not going to lie, like, as a first year in my program, that's kind of what you have to do. There's not much other than like the follow-up aspect of it. There's not much you can do until you're a second year and you're genuinely like reconnecting with those people that you have met to try to, help find a job and stuff. So it's just kind of laying that foundation of who you are.
Yes.
Now, however, networking is kind of more than just here's me. It's here's me, let's build this relationship. And then it's who you are willing to like kind of sustain those relationships with to keep in your corner, to know that you can always have that foundational relationship and then growth professionally.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it. It is just trying to set yourself up for the best position possible anytime you're meeting people that can benefit you.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's different forms of networking. I personally think that the best way to do it is in person. But do you think that like sending texts or an email or a DM or something like that, do you think those are adequate forms of networking?
I personally have never sent an email having talked to the person without talking to them in person first.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. I had to do that once for my observation hours. But, like, in regards to legit networking, I've introduced myself in person, had a conversation with them, been around them for a little bit, and then, kinda sent a follow-up email to keep my name in their system.
Yeah. I think go ahead. I'll let you
I
finish.
personally don't think that DMing somebody is professional.
Hmm. I think that, in my opinion, I think of it in 2 ways. Like, I think of networking for my profession, but I also think of networking for the podcast, right? So I think in the podcast world is very different than from the nutrition dietitian's world. So I think for podcasting, it's DMing or sending an email or texting somebody or whatever is very different. And I think that those are okay because if I'm looking for sponsors for us, which I actually am working into getting into, like that is going to be more of a an email or a DM or something like that. And
Mhm,
so but I'm still trying to network with those people. So I do think does depend on which kind of world you're in
mhm.
to see what kind of networking is the most appropriate.
Yeah,
So like in the nutrition world, I feel like those are more in person. However, if there's somebody that I see on LinkedIn that that's in my profession, I would have no problem sending them like an email or DM or whatever to say, "Hey, I'm looking for this for something. Would you be, would you kind of be interested in helping with me?" And that's networking,
yeah, that's true.
you know?
No.
So,
One of the things that I did, at my conference was I wrote down every name of, like, the person that I had a conversation with, and then
yes.
I looked them up on LinkedIn and tried to request them as a friend.
There you go.
So,
That's great networking. That's great networking. Networking. Do you think that your generation is good at networking or bad at it or indifferent or because your generation is so hands off when it comes to the in-person kind of stuff. Do you feel like they have a hard time and they're awkward? Yeah, tell me about it.
just watching people this weekend
Yes.
was kind of a struggle, I think. I feel like the people from my class did well, but I watched other people talk to certain individuals, and I went to a student luncheon, and so we
Yep.
all had the opportunity to like introduce ourselves to higher up members
Ooh.
that were on the board and stuff, and
Uh-huh.
just like some individuals looked a little bit like uncomfortable. I don't know. I don't. The stuff doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Like, I just kind of like, if
Yeah.
you think I'm a a dork, you think I'm a dork. I guess that's whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, and who knows? Maybe they're really, really great at it. And it was scary. There was a lot of people there,
For sure.
so I get it. But it's just some people looked more uncomfortable than
Than
others,
others.
and I think that goes to like, are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? It's just kind of like who you are too.
Yeah.
So I don't hold that against them, but I don't know. I think that in my field, you kind of have to be willing to
Put
just
yourself
get out there because. I mean, a lot of the information I've been told is it's like 20% of what you know, 80% of who you know.
Oh, let's remember that.
Wow.
'Cause
Okay.
just remember that.
Yeah, it's a lot of are you and they say like treat every rotation like a job interview,
Yeah.
essentially. Oh,
Yeah. That was gonna be my next question.
yeah.
So, do you feel like going along with that, do you feel like your professors or preceptors or anybody that you meet, are those opportunities for networking? Do you call that networking?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 1,000%. I mean,
Yeah.
the individual that was like the program director last year, like was so well known that when I had my interview with Penn State, they asked me about him. And so, I mean, it's just like, I don't know him that well anymore, or like I never really did just because he was retiring when I was coming in, right? So,
Yeah.
um, but I think that was just a really cool opportunity to be like, oh, somebody in Pennsylvania is talking about this individual in Minnesota,
Yeah.
right? So it's, just who you know can help you get to where you're going. And so,
Yeah.
even with my current like clinical coordinator and my program director, the amount of people that they know and just
Yep.
the connections they have, I mean, thinking about like the internships and stuff that I'm applying for and just who they know.
Yep.
So yeah, even in class, it's still is a job interview. It's
Yeah.
are they it's who are they recommending you? Are you putting enough work to let them give my name to somebody?
Yeah. And I will speak to that because In the nutrition world, when I was going to school, I was very much connected with my professors, right? Like and I'm a people person, so it was easier for me to like just
Right.
have regular conversations with them rather than treating them like, oh my gosh, they're this higher thing than you because they're more
Yeah.
experienced, whatever. It's more of like, how can you connect as as a person, right? And so keeping those connections with my professors enabled me to be in the position that I am now as an adjunct professor and as working with them in the professional world because I was able to network with them when I was a student.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree with that. So, like, I mean, like I said, we kind of always talked about like networking and how important it is, especially knowing the fields that you guys were going into. So, I think you always knew that it was going to be something that you have to get into. As a 21-year-old, how do you feel about like networking? Like you said, it's scary. Do you
Yeah.
feel like when you're talking to like 30 some, 40 some year olds, like, do you feel intimidated?
So there was this individual that I met at the conference, um, that asked me. It was that was it Saturday morning? I think it was either Friday night or Saturday morning. He asked me, he's like, "What are you learning?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Just tell me something that you've learned." And he was this older gentleman. I think he's retired now.
Mm,
But he's like, what if," and so I was like, "Oh, I'm like learning the art of networking," is what I told him. And he's like, "You're gonna learn more in the halls than you do in the classroom." Learn more in the halls than in the lecture halls. He's like, "The people you talk to, you're gonna learn more from in 20 minutes than you do from a 50-minute lecture
right.
about something." He's like, "The research is always gonna be there, but the life stories are always like where you learn like the valuable things, right?"
Yeah.
And I was sat there and I was like, "Holy crap." Because I had then thought about every conversation I had had that weekend, and I was just like, I was more invested in talking to anybody I could than I was just sitting there listening to, and not that they weren't interesting lectures at all, because
No.
they were very interesting, but the life stories and just the advice that I was being given about becoming, like, a first time for young athletic trainer, right,
Yeah.
was so rewarding in a sense. Although it was intimidating, I don't know, once I started talking, I just kinda kept going. I just had to open up that conversation. And so many of them were so nice to know that like we're young and we don't know what we're doing. So they would just come talk to us.
Yeah.
So it was a
Yeah.
little intimidating to be like, "Oh, you're a retired AT, or you've been doing this for 30
30, 40
years and
years.
you are well established and everybody here
Right.
knows you."
Yep.
But I don't know, I then started thinking to myself, I'm like, who knows, maybe in 40 years that'll be me and I'll be doing the same thing all these guys are doing, and
Exactly.
it'd be a full circle moment.
That's a great way to look at it because it's kind of hard as a 20-year-old walking into a room full of established people and saying, what is my exact role here? Like, how can
Yeah,
I contribute? And I think it's just that. Like, networking doesn't always mean that you have to be the smartest person in the room. Networking means that you're willing to go talk to people because they might have something of value to give to you,
yeah,
even though you know nothing, like not nothing, but you just might feel like, you
very
know,
little.
like, yeah, but those people you have to remember that they're people too, and that they are just, looking to either have a conversation as well or offer whatever they can, or, they're not, if they didn't want to be talked to, they wouldn't go there
Yeah,
because that's not what conferences are for, right? So they wouldn't be there if they didn't think they were going to listen, they were going to talk to younger,
yeah,
ATs or whatever, or
and
students.
and that's something that they kept saying. The first day they were, because it was like, it was close to St. Patrick's Day, so it was St. Patrick's Day themed, and
Right.
so the president of NATA that was in charge, so NATA, for those of you who don't know, is National Athletic Trainers Association,
Yes.
and so they put on this conference for, all the states around our region. And a lady that was the president for the last 2 years just fulfilled her term. The last thing she did was they did these, like, funny shirts that were St. Patrick's Day themed, and
Yeah.
she's like, "I just want you guys to understand that we're people too. Like,
Yes.
yes, we have, we're established and we've gotten to where we are, but at the end of the day, we're still people, and we want you guys, like, we welcome you all to come and have a conversation with us because that's what we're here for."
Yeah.
And so I thought that was a really good idea to just like kind of help remember like, oh, these are just people and they've
Yeah.
been where I am, right? They
Yeah.
they
Exactly.
they have been in the same boat, stressed out, trying to
Yes.
figure out what to do with their lives, you know.
Exactly.
Uh, and so I think that when I was in the middle of having these conversations with these people, I was like, okay, and every single one of them gave me a piece of advice, but which I thought was really, really nice. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So, yeah. No, that's good. So we're talking about all this in-person kind of networking, but I've had experiences with other, like I said, especially with podcasts, but also in the nutrition field. Like as one of the jobs that I've done is kind of recruitment. And I think that with recruiting in any field, you have to build relationships over the telephone. Right. And so I think that we forget that telephone conversations are ways of networking because you're trying to set up things, you're talking about your experiences, or you're trying to figure out, how you can meet up and things like that. But the networking doesn't always just mean that it's something in person. It's
yeah.
typically, but there's also other opportunities for networking through like phone calls or things like that too, which I think that we forget that we tend to forget about. Um, but I mean, I always say, I don't know if we're gonna move into this, but one of the things that I always say about you is that you're so charismatic, and so you do well in those situations because of your charisma, and you do well in like interviews and things like that because like interviews as well are also networking opportunities, but you do well in those things because of your charisma. And that's not something I think that you learn. I think charisma is that innate thing that you have. There's like, I mean, like I think about it all the time. A lot of actors have good charisma, but I always feel like you do because you just stand out to people. Like you know how to put yourself out there, be real, connect with people, and talk, in a professional way. And so I always pride you on your charisma and your way of networking with people. So
Thanks.
you're welcome, baby. Um, we're gonna move into the what's your take. It's called this next segment is called the what's your take break.
It's the what's your take? Break.
What's your take?
What's your
Break.
take break? You go first.
What's your take on showers at night are better than showers in the morning?
Better. How do you like better meaning
They just hit
like
different.
hit different? Showers at night. I'm not a people person, a morning person, so I'm going to say those night showers are much better. I feel like
To rebuttal that though, what about, getting out of bed and just hitting the shower and just helping with your waking up process? For
no.
those that do that.
No, that's
No?
not me. No. I always forget in the morning to put my music on if I'm going into the shower because I'm not thinking. But if I'm going into the shower at night, I remember to put my music on. And
Ah,
that's where I'm vibing.
you don't have shower thoughts?
Shower thoughts. No, I have music on. I mean, yeah, I guess so. I sometimes do a lot of thinking in the shower.
I do my best thinking in the shower.
See? Sometimes. That's a good one.
I think showers are better at night too, just because I like to like get into bed clean.
Yeah. I had one, but then I changed my mind and just made up one by myself. So this is one I made up. What's your take on people who say quick story and then proceed to take a year and a day to tell the story?
My roommate, we tell him that his stories can't be 3 hours long. I don't know. You do that, but I do that too. So I don't know. Sometimes it pisses me off. I'm like, are we ever gonna get the like? What's the point of this? I'm like, what?
What are we doing?
I think okay. Honestly, I think the first time I hear this story, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm invested.
Yeah.
But there are times when I hear the same story 4 times in the span of 30 minutes,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
That's too long. If it was too long the first time, I don't need to hear it 4 more times.
or I'll hear it the next day, and I'm like, and
Yeah.
somehow it gets longer.
Yeah.
Like what? But
Yeah.
there's also this thing that I learned in psychology:
Uh-huh.
behavior health, behavioral change. My behavior
Okay.
change class.
Yeah.
It's like when you tell a story or you live a moment. The
Yeah.
more times you tell the story, the less true it becomes because you either add or forget things.
Yes.
So it's like, and I thought it was really interesting. That's totally
Yeah.
off topic, but I just thought that was interesting because it's like I can tell a story perfectly because it just happened, but a
Yeah.
year later I'm gonna forget 10 things.
Yep.
So
Yes. But yes,
or I'm gonna fib because I'm gonna add things that didn't actually happen.
yes. Yeah, I have a tendency to say quick story, but it's not a quick story or things like that. But sometimes I can tell them pretty quickly.
Sometimes you
So
go long story short, and then you make
long
it
sto
long.
yeah.
Short story
But
long.
I think that I have a little bit more lenience for people because I do it myself. Okay, back to networking.
We never did the socials, dude.
Well, we'll do those at the end, I guess. In the networking world, let's see like what isn't networking? What doesn't work? Like what's not
What is it
networking?
networking? Being
Yeah.
unprofessional?
Okay.
I think that see, I have a hard time because some like how realistic was my networking this weekend? Yes, I added them on LinkedIn and all that stuff. But what are the odds that I ever actually talk to half those people again?
So does
Was
that
that networking?
yeah. So does that mean like is networking that genuine talking like in that instance is it that genuine talking to people? Is that what makes it networking? Or maybe the networking part of it is you were listening to one of the speakers and you enjoyed what they were talking about and you send them a LinkedIn request.
Yeah.
Is that networking? Right? Does that work? Like is it okay to do that? Like do you
See,
think that that's
that's the part that I struggle with because I don't know. I introduced myself to a lot of people,
yeah.
right? And I got out there and I talked to people and stuff, and I
Yeah.
added them on LinkedIn. But if I never follow up with anything,
Is that really networking?
did I really grow my network, or did I just make it uh, or did I just give myself a chance to be put out there,
Right.
right?
Same thing. Yeah. Like it's like I said with those speakers, like maybe you like what they're talking about. So you go to Instagram or whatever and you like their page or you follow them or whatever. Does that make it networking? I don't
Right?
think it
Because
does.
so maybe I didn't do any networking, or is it that I have to follow up?
And send them like a little note and say, hey, it was so nice to meet you. I enjoyed this conversation. So when you were writing down those people that you talked to, their names, you should have written yourself a note of what we talked about.
Oh, I remember what all we talked about. All of them.
Okay. But sometimes you don't. So maybe
Yeah,
just like next time, like a little note next to it, or for anybody that's listening and working on it. So if you're going to write
yeah,
down the names of the people that you are networking with or you're talking to, make sure you write yourself a little note afterwards of what we talked about so that
yeah.
you can go back and say, hey, like, when you're LinkedIn, friending them, maybe you send them a little note and say, hey, wanted to connect with you. Really appreciated talking to you at this conference. This is what we talked about. Love this conversation. Would love to catch up another time,
Right.
or maybe we can talk in the future.
And I feel like there was a difference between like the professionals versus the other students that I connected with. The other
But you
students that
never know
I
what they might turn into.
right, the other students that I connected with, most of them were second years.
Hmm.
Um, but I got most of them on Instagram or their Snapchats or something, and then I
Yeah.
added them on LinkedIn as well. I feel like it's a little bit easier just because they're closer in age and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there was this so at the student luncheon they had this panel, and so you had students had the opportunity to stand up, ask a question, and have them answer and stuff. And I don't know why, but I stood up and I asked a question.
That's
That
good.
was not good of me.
It is so
That's not
good.
good. But, anyways, this one lady that spoke, she's the president-elect, so in 2 years, she'll be the next president,
Hmm.
and she specifically said something, not referencing what I said, but she took, like, a small phrase in my question and kinda touched on that part, and I had a hard time, like, understanding the rest of it, like, everybody else that said something was a really good answer, and I was like, "Okay, like, that makes a lot of sense," but what she said was specifically stuck with me, and so afterwards, I went up to her specifically, and I gave her my full name, and I shook her hand and asked her for her name and stuff, and then I just, I thanked her for her comment to me specifically because we were talking about perfection. She ended up talking about perfectionism and how
Hmm.
it kind of plays into like first year athletic trainers and stuff,
Right.
and just in general. But I just thanked her, and so I ended up sending her on LinkedIn as well. But I think that that was better than like some of the other ones that I did do because I
Yeah.
specifically like was in regards to what I was talking about earlier. So I don't know. Maybe it's not networking. Maybe it is. But I put my name out there, so
Right.
I'm
And
trying.
I do think that follow-up part is important. Like that's an
Yeah.
important piece to it. Like, sending out those LinkedIn requests and putting a little personal touch on it isn't necessarily a bad thing, you
Yeah.
know, or in a month or, whatever, say, hey, I'm still thinking about this. Like we had this conversation and it's still on my mind. Just wanted to say thank you again,
Right.
something like that. So yeah, I think that there's also like those moments for like try hard, right? You're trying too hard, right?
Yeah.
That can happen. And you don't want to come across that way, right? I have been in instances where I've been trying to talk to somebody and like and they've been super busy or whatever. And I'm like recognizing that I'm not getting my opportunity. So like I'll try and stick something in. Like I've caught myself do this a couple of times.
I've done
And I'm
that.
like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, like that's not good. Yeah, that was cringe. Like I need to walk away from this. Like it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
Like, if they're not going to reciprocate the enthusiasm, then maybe it's just walk away and try something else. Do
Right.
another, talk to somebody else or whatever. So those are things that can happen too, like you're trying too hard or whatever.
Right.
Whatever, whatever. The other thing that I think that we can tend to do is overdress for the occasion, right? Do
Yeah.
you think I think people do that. Like at first
Yeah.
you don't necessarily
Yeah.
at first you don't necessarily know, but typically when you're signing up for a conference or something or a little meet and greet or, a luncheon or things like that, like you're going to know what the attire is, right?
Yeah.
Going above and beyond looks a little too sketch sometimes. It's a little
Yeah.
like, okay, you're being too much. Like stop it.
Right. There was a social
Okay?
at the conference, and none of us knew what the attire was.
Yes.
And so we're like, we don't want to look because we knew that there would be other students there, other professionals and stuff. And we're like, okay, we want to look semi decent, but we don't want to be as dressed up as we were for the actual conference because it's.
Sure.
So we all like had polos on
Yeah.
essentially.
Yes.
And then we show up and everybody's in like a sweatshirt and sweatpants and all the are just, and not as nice as we were. And I in that moment was like, I felt kind of out of place right now because like
Yeah.
I was like literally this other Minnesota person over here is in his sweatshirt sweatpants and they all had snacks and candy and
Uh, no.
it was a buy-in of like Trivial Pursuit. Like
You
we
would
were
try hards.
we were tryhards, yeah. But it was really nice because we had this one lady come over and she's like, okay, I just had to come over to you four specifically and talk to you guys. And we're like, and she goes, I just wanted to say thank you to you guys for being as involved as you have been. And she's like, what school are you from? We're like, oh, we're
Oh,
from, we told her the school we're at. She's like, okay. She's like, well, you guys are doing it really well. She's like, people have been taking notice about you four. And so she's like, I just wanted to like come over and like formally say thank you to being involved and like showing up to things and just doing what
yeah.
you're doing because you guys are standing out and
You're
people are
doing it
talking
well,
about it.
which you
Yeah,
did that was a great segue into the next part of it and what works, right? And
yeah,
what are the things that you should be doing? And one of the things is like, how do you make yourself memorable, right? These people are meeting a ton of people as well, right? You're trying to vie for their time. You're trying to, speak to this one, speak to this one. But what makes you memorable, right? And so you guys as a foursome did something right. And that was being present,
yeah,
being asking the questions, looking professional, talking to people, putting yourselves out there. You made an impression, right? And so that's what you do right, right? So next time you go into a situation where you're doing some networking, you reflect back onto that. Like, I did that right. So what did I do? Right? So
right,
you have something to carry forward with you. So, because it's hard. Like when you're in a room full of that many people, you need to stand out somehow. You
yeah.
have to. How do you do it? Do you be funny?
I always make a joke.
Do you be charismatic?
See, my thought process is if I can, I've heard, I don't know, if I can make them laugh, obviously I hit the nail on the head a little bit, right?
Yep.
But my professor gave me, and this is the context he gave me, so don't quote me on this. This is his quote, but um, he said sometimes you just have to shoot the shit to get to where you want to go, and he's like you just have to find one thing that you can like get into with them
Yeah.
and talk about to kind of make them remember you, right?
Yep.
And so I kind of took that to heart a little bit this weekend. And every time somebody says something, I would kind of make a joke about it and come back to it like halfway through our conversation.
Yeah.
so that we could like we would end up laughing about something that they were talking about prior, so just that we could kind of connect on, right? And so that was
Yeah.
kind of my personal little like trick this weekend. For,
Yeah.
I've
To be memorable.
somebody we had to attend a every state had to attend like your meeting with other reps and stuff from there, and so our professor's like, you guys are going to this 7:30 in the morning. We're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
So she's like, no, 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 you're going to that. We're like, all right, fine. Anyways, they're like, oh, you're gonna go around and let the students all introduce themselves and stuff. And so one of my friends goes first, and I'm sitting there. And so, anyways, I'm introducing myself. He's like, hey, you on any committees? I was like, oh yeah, I'm on the one committee, and so I said what committee I'm on. And he's like, oh, and you were a part of Quizbo, right? And I was like, yeah, as the alternate. Joe, and the entire room just busts out laughing. And he's like, don't say that, bro. Don't say that. And I was like, oh, I have to. And then my other buddy follows up. He's like, he kind of stole my joke a little bit, but I love him, so I didn't really care. But he's like, he goes, yeah, the same committee, and then Quiz Bowl starting right, or he's like starting center bench. And I was like, all right. I was like, okay, pal. And then my next friend goes, and he's like, yeah, Quiz Bowl starting left bench. I'm like, all right. I'm like, boys, just steal my jokes, but yeah, cool.
That's funny.
So I think that we kind of
Yeah,
into making everybody laugh at us and stuff. So it was
that's good.
that was our play this weekend.
Yeah. So some of the things that I have written down for how to make it work are be curious, ask good
Good thing
questions.
George is my middle name.
Yeah, that's right, Curious George. Following up, making sure we're following up once. Here's a really big one. Here's a really, really big one. Remember the people's names. Remember them
That's
when
the
you
part I sucked at.
remember their names. Even if you are having a conversation, use their name at least once.
That's what
So,
we
da
learned.
da da da. Noah, how are you today? Whatever. Like, Noah, I remember this time that I was talking to this person. Oh, whatever. Use their name so you remember it.
Right.
Showing up consistently, being normal. Be normal. Be normal. Just be normal.
See, that's not fair though. That's not fair because you raised me.
I know.
That's not fair.
I know. I have a really hard time with being normal. Be reliable. That one's an easy one.
Yes.
Be somebody that people want to be around, which is easy for you because, like I said, that charisma kind of thing. Let people see your work ethic. You're not only there to entertain them and have a good time and enjoy a conversation, but you're also there to let them know that you are a potential employee. And by doing that is by showing them your work ethic. Like, oh, do this, and this, blah, 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 blah. I enjoy my rotations, all these things, right?
Yeah.
And then making it easy for people to help you and like you. So that's the little list of, what to do when networking. I have a nutrition conference coming up in April. It is
Really?
our
When?
April 15th and 16th, I think.
Mine's the 10th and the 11th.
We have our state annual meeting. And so I am not sure I'm going, but one of the major reasons that I do go to those kinds of things are for the networking opportunities. I'm not thrilled with the speakers this year, but the reason why I would go would be for that networking so that I get to talk to people in my field, see how they're doing, what they're doing, and kind of catch up that way. So I do look forward to that. If I end up deciding to go, I have to see if a couple of my friends are going, but yeah, annual conferences are a great way to network.
Make business cards.
Yes, that's the other thing.
That was the solicited advice that I was given in the halls.
Yep, you and I talked about that because it was kind of funny. We were texting it back and forth. Noah and I were texting, and he was telling me some stuff, and I was like, "Huh, I think you need some business cards." And right as I'm texting that, he texts me, "I think I need some business cards." It was so funny. I was like, "Oh, I'm on that, bud. I'll make those for you."
Yeah, because the gentleman that I met, he was like, "Yeah, business card." I said, "No, I don't." I was just gonna wait until I was at a job. He's like, "And why?" I was
And
like, "Well,
why?
what do you mean?" I was like, "I'm not affiliated with anybody." He's like, "Doesn't matter. All you need to do is have your name, your email, and your phone number on it, and write where they met you on the back, so that they can write the notes on. Like he's like, you never know what they're gonna do with that." And I was like, "True." So he
Good
gave
to
me
know.
his business card. He's like, "Here, keep that for
Yes,
reference."
nice.
Thanks.
I know. So yes, so we are going to make business cards. So
Before the 10th.
before the 10th, yes,
I should have to register for that conference. I'm speaking
I
at
know.
it, so I have to do
Yeah,
that.
me too. That'll be a great opportunity for you.
I should say speaking. I'm introducing speakers, but
Cool.
I
That's
still have to
awesome.
talk.
MC,
So
you're MC.
no, I'm just like introducing like So I have like 4 people that I just have to read the biography about.
Kind of emceeing.
I guess.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
We forgot to do the socials like Noah mentioned, so here they are. Okay. This is somebody outside?
I ain't kind of
Uh, okay. Um, Socials, go.
Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and yes, Gentle Anchor Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts.
Yes.
Yes.
I I think that on the last video I put up our subscribe on YouTube. So the subscribe button was up there. So I noticed that nobody subscribed though. Guys, don't be afraid to subscribe. If you're watching and you're not a subscriber, please don't be afraid to subscribe. I love to see the number go up. I would love to see that we got at least one extra subscriber.
Has our number gone up in a while?
Not since Sue. Hi, Sue.
I don't think I'm even no, yes, I am.
That was Christmas, so or like
Mom, we're
the
not
New
doing too
Year.
well.
No, I do, but you know what? We always say it's not for the numbers. We don't do this for the numbers. We do it because we enjoy
Well, we
doing it and we
don't, but
want to
it's
bring
just kind of
something to the
funny to
world.
look at.
It is. It's nice to get numbers to go up. One of our videos did really well. Like one of the clips I posted did really well, so that was fun.
That's cool.
But anyway,
now we just sound like a broken record.
I guess. Anyway, if you're not subscribed, it's free on all the things. Nothing pays. You have to pay anything. We don't have subscriptions yet or anything like that. So subscribe is for free. So do all those things. And we are just so grateful that you guys are coming on this journey with us. Noah and I love spending the time together and we love spending it with you. So thank you for all our listeners, all of our drift mates. We so appreciate you and we hope you're enjoying what you're listening to. So with that, Noah, you have anything else you want to add?
I'm going to go do homework. Have fun, y'all.
Okay. We appreciate you listening. Every voice needs a safe harbor. Until next time, stay anchored in connection. Bye, guys.